Fingers.
Oh, this meeting is being live streamed again.
Yep.
Where is it? It disappeared.
Got it. There we
It just
go.
lets
It,
everybody
fade,
know.
it got Phantom Snap.
Redirecting.
It gets recorded on YouTube.
What?
Great, we can watch it later.
Yep.
I'm gonna watch this later, see myself. And
Maybe.
I snuck.
Depends on how big a
I
part of the
peeked-
show you
I
become.
put my head in the camera's view a few times.
Huh?
But oh well, I think it made a second
Like
one,
2
but oh well.
It did
Still a pretty-
again.
Yeah,
Probably.
that is what it is.
Oh, future
See.
me.
Makes, make it two.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I did that once before. That's the right channel. Crap.
Yeah, no worries.
Is this Empowered Inventing? Is that your old site?
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
when we
our, that's the
click-
YouTube channel.
So click play, we'll see it.
Dig?
Yeah, but if I turn it on, it will have all kinds of delay.
What's the
Great.
YouTube channel called?
Empowered Inventing TV.
Uh,
All right. Thanks
Look
for
at
joining us, everybody.
Yeah.
We're on the hour and it's time to get started.
All right. All right. Okay. Oh, here, can you spotlight me? Spotlight me.
You are smart.
Am I
what's your,
spotlighted?
what's
Are
your
you
name?
sure? Okay. Oh, wait, I'll get it. I got it. It's this one right here.
Spotlight.
There we are. Okay.
That's spotlight.
Now I've got it. Now it'll stay spotlighted. All right, everybody. So, did a spaceship really come back to Earth without a heat shield safely? And was fiber optics actually
Oh,
thought of?
So
Back, it's okay, it's right here. Back in the 1880s. And the debate's on. Real buttons or touch screens? Which one do you prefer? Those topics and more are going to be discussed tonight on this June edition of Inventor Friday. I'm Don Skaggs. For those of you that don't know me, president of the Inventors Network Kentucky. Across from me is Leo York. Leo, tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Vice president and CMO. I do marketing stuff. And when we don't have somebody kind enough to help us out, push some of the buttons.
And we do have somebody helping us tonight.
Yes.
So also with us tonight, we have Reese Walter. Reese, tell us who you are, what you do, what you're about.
All right, well, I'm Reese. I work at Awesome Inc. I teach high schoolers how to write code. So teach them web development and
Sister.
worked with Leo and Don with our partnership with Boone, Kentucky. And we're there teaching high schoolers how to become entrepreneurs and pair the kids up, and they'll hopefully invent the next Apple or next Google. And
It's awesome to see what they come up with.
It is, it really is.
successful and write us a nice thank you.
Absolutely.
Right. All right, very cool. Also with us tonight is the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Poole. Kevin, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and what that shirt's all about.
Well, my name is Kevin Poole. I'm a farmer in Winchester, Kentucky. I've launched a company called Hemp Cattle Company. It's a plant-based protein hemp that I feed animals, and I'm a bit of more of a inventor really than I am much of a farmer. I spend half my time experimenting and trying to create systems that are different and work better or more efficient. So to call me a farmer is debatable. Some would say, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the adventure, and hopefully I can enact real change.
Absolutely.
I've heard people call you the Willy Wonka of farming.
Yes, I called myself that. I used to sit in a tractor and I was bush hogging and or raking hay. And since I'm doing things that are, what would you say, outside the box, approaching things from a different angle, I started thinking of myself as Willy Wonka. I actually came from where I used to get rid of all my weeds on the farm. Everything on the farm was edible, kind of like the factory when everybody went into that room and the river of chocolate and the snozberries tasted like snozberries. My cattle, everything was edible. And so I started thinking of myself as the Willy Wonka of farming. And when all the inventions that popped into my brain, it was kind of fitting. Kind of like
Talking about edible weeds, put in the chat, everybody, if you ever had poke salad. Because
Oh, yeah.
oh, sure.
So, yeah, I knew.
So I think I have. Yeah, it's required if you've lived in Eastern
Right,
Kentucky.
yeah.
Dandelion leaves, I mean,
For those of you who don't know, it's indigenous to the American South and it's toxic, so you have to boil it 3 times before you can actually make use of it. So yeah, it's a wild plant that just grows everywhere around here.
how is the edible heavy machinery going?
Haven't come up with that one yet, but and I don't have a river of chocolate. But I do definitely have come up with a system that would be Wonka worthy.
All right.
He definitely was a unique character, and I like to think that my version of farming fits right in with if he was a farmer.
Nice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Cool. Cool. Well, I do want to share my screen real quick and talk to you a little bit about, I can share my screen. There it is. All right. So our sponsor tonight, and yes, we do have a sponsor. If I can get the tab to click.
You're on the other side of the mouse, I think. Because it looks like you're right clicking instead of left clicking.
That is bizarre.
There you
Guys,
go.
we're having gremlins
There we
tonight.
go.
There we go. All right. Our sponsor tonight is actually we are in what we call the Total Health Work Studio. And if I just keep not clicking on things, maybe people can see stuff. So anyway, one of our own, Bennett Gatto, has developed a online brain and body training and wellness exercise platform. So originally for people with Parkinson's, MS, people with neurological conditions. And what we found out is that it actually helps anyone that might be a little older. Maybe you wandered into that room and wondered why you went there. Well, you can help, they can help you regain control of your health, and where you'll feel better, more confident, you'll have more energy, and actually it improves your thinking process. So you want to go to totalhealthworks.com, click on healthy aging or memory and cognition. And so he's got all kinds of really cool things, and really glad that he has let us have a use of our little makeshift studio here. So so we're really appreciative of that. So some other announcements. All right. Some other things. Let's just jump right into some space histories, some inventing history or innovation history here. One is the Spaceship One. I'll hand this back to you once I'm done with this weirdness. So Spaceship One was a reusable manned suborbital rocket plane. So this was, I don't know if everybody remembered this, but back in 2004, this was a rocket plane that went into orbit. And what really got me about this one was it was from Bert Rutan. They called it the Spaceship One. Actually, here's a picture of it. Yeah, I always thought it was weird how these big, I mean, it looks like it's got holes all through it,
Yeah,
but those
does
are like
not look like it's gonna
Like a
fly.
wiffle ball.
no, right, exactly. So, oh wow, it even did that. So, so anyway, this actually was a plane or space plane that came back to Earth without it. Had a very interesting, trying to find it here. Yes, shuttlecock design is what they called it. So think of kind of this feathered reentry mode that claimed it to be safer behavior than like the space shuttle. So it was like coming into reentry without any heat shields, I don't think. So that was the thing that just, I remember when seeing this in the news and just thinking that was just so crazy, so wild. But that kind of really begs a question. And that's that, whatever happened to that tech?
The space, the heat shields or,
Yeah, what happened to the whole feathering technique? How come they didn't do anything with that, you think?
well, it was suborbital. So how high up did it get? I mean, was it, because Virgin has those flights that are
Right, yeah.
not quite in
I forgot about
orbit,
that,
but
yeah,
almost out of the atmosphere, but there's not really a purpose to go up there other than you say you did it.
right.
Right, yeah.
So,
Hmm.
Good point. Yeah, you wouldn't really need to concern yourself with the radiation that altitude. Although, it does increase rates of cancer being repeatedly exposed to, but that's not the same thing.
No, that's
so
not
the
bad. Don't worry
shield
about that.
is
It's
friction
it's
from
what
going
I
from
said.
no
Please.
air, like there's no atoms, and then your speed's just hitting those atoms. So if it never
Yeah,
got to that speed to where just the air was gonna cause so much friction, it was gonna heat up, I guess it wouldn't need it.
Well, there's also got to be some kind of logistical reason for all those holes. I mean, obviously they're not holes, they're not like.
They're windows.
They're windows, exactly. But there has to be some kind of reason behind it.
Well, and if they didn't have a heat shield, and you're right, Reese, I didn't think about this before. Maybe it was just because they weren't that far up into above the atmosphere. I just figured I'm thinking, okay, how did they not burn up coming back?
Yeah,
Right.
But
so think of like the boosters, is you got two boosters on the shuttle and then the large one, and they jettison, and I don't know if they have parachutes that deploy when they're coming down, or, but I don't know if they have.
Scroll up to the
Have those
picture. Let's see the
plates
picture
either.
again.
Yeah. Pretty still.
oh yeah,
Legit.
that's not we're the only ones that can see that.
Oh, we're the only ones that see
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Well,
Massive.
regardless, it doesn't have any phallic tendencies like the other ones we've seen, so.
Yeah,
that's a
well,
bonus.
That's actually, by the way, that is a real thing. I think it's laughable, but there is such a thing as like, what would you call it? Like feminist architecture and feminist.
Is that right?
I'm not.
There's the rabbit hole. What do you call it? You step up.
This is getting
That's
quickly.
It's a real thing where it's literally-
Hashtag awesome getting incorporated right here on this this podcast right now.
Oh, man.
The Swiss cheese design on this one.
This
you know.
is,
Yeah.
you guys are in for a trip. This is not gonna be boring.
well, the window thing surprised me. It it's funny. I was at a thing in DC with all these SBIR Small Business Innovation Research Grant awardees, and one of the guys that was there, I think I got to sit down and eat lunch with him, and they made these crystals that were used for windows in spacecraft. And they said this was the only thing that they could put in a space shuttle. Otherwise it would crack and burst. But it was almost like a rock. It was almost like they were growing rocks.
Interesting. Peruse this at your leisure, everyone. So put it in the chat, but
Yep.
it's a real thing. Dang it. And there's cookies. It's annoying. It's access
Cookies.
with the German websites.
Two space tourists.
Yeah, but no, that's a very real thing
Yeah.
that they're
That-
attempting.
That's owned by Paul Allen. Does that mean the two Seattle Seahawks get to go first?
All the spaceship.
I'm telling you, it's fantastic.
Huh? Yeah, another thing they did in there was, and I think this was kind of like a marketing ploy. They had M&Ms. And it was like, we're going to prove on camera that we are really in space. And they let these M&Ms loose and they just floated around.
Interesting.
Yeah, nobody believes anything.
Right. Well, if they did it, this was 2004. If they did it today.
Don, let's
Say-
not cater to the flat earthers and the conspiracy theorists.
We can just
please.
float in M&Ms right now.
I mean,
Change the Zoom background.
That's all we have to do, pretty much. Chat GPT,
We are
right?
boosting this podcast to outer space with all this stuff. Awesome.
Oh, all right. Well, let me share my screen again and I will, let's pull up another little tidbit here. If I can find it. All right. And there we are. All right. That's not it. Hang on, guys.
Yeah, you'll have to do a search. I don't think it's open.
Oh, I got links. Everybody.
Wow.
All right, so Thomas Edison's first patented invention was this month in history, and it was a voting machine for Congress, and it was a total flop. So this was his very first
Oh my
patent.
gosh, he was only 22.
I know, right? I hope that's not
I
him
hope
at
not either.
22.
Yeah,
That looks
rough
pretty
looking
bad.
22.
That looks pretty rough for 22. So June
Things were a
1st.
little rougher then.
That's right. So June 1st, 1869, Thomas Edison patented his very first invention. So this was his first go at inventing. Most people don't know about this. Let's see, might have been inspired after newspaper reports about the legislature, city council. So Edison's electrographic vote recorder had all the names of the voters listed twice, and a yes on one side, a no on the other. Person flipped the switch of the voting machine would transmit the signal and mark their name in the corresponding column on a dial. So there's a picture of it right there. Wow. 1880 or 1869. So that actually looks kind of high tech for 1869, doesn't it?
It's weird how sometimes technology solves immediate problems and sometimes it's more for look what we can do.
Yeah.
Because like the previous one was you just shout it out and somebody writes it down.
Yeah.
And then the Greeks 2,000 years prior, they just write it on like a little smashed piece of clay, and that's not that much better.
So telegraph operator invested $100, so about $1,700 in today's dollars. Alas, all the this was the funny part. All the members of Congress were completely uninterested. Committee chairman in charge of deciding the fate declared, if there is any invention on earth that we don't want here, this is it.
Wow.
So they really, really, really didn't like it. So
That one fall into the category of people don't know, like they don't, invention won't be recognized if people don't know that there's a problem.
Right.
Was Congress afraid that this voting machine could be manipulated?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's possible.
I kind of think they probably didn't want the fact that it was.
But this was in the ages also where people were worried about electricity in the house. Like they thought, electrons are going to zip through them and they'll catch fire. So and you also got to remember he was 22. Your average congressperson was probably like 50. So they were born in like 1800. So
They said it's possible that they didn't want things sped up in the first place. If the officials didn't voice their votes aloud, there wouldn't be an opportunity to filibuster policies or persuade. So again, politics gets in the way
Slight
of
oversight.
slight oversight. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. I think that Edison would actually just fail like that.
Yeah.
Does that make Edison a liberal since he wants to get rid of the filibuster?
When did the filibuster start getting used? I thought it was kind of a newer invention.
No, it's been around for a while, but
1869, apparently it was a thing.
They want to get rid of it. Or they,
Or all of Congress just didn't want any efficiency brought,
right,
yeah.
It's like, we don't actually want to do anything.
that's right.
Ever.
Yeah,
It's
the
a-
inefficiency of our government.
The big lesson here though is
There you go.
one of the most notable inventors ever, his first invention was a flop and didn't deter him from continuing to pursue other thing. So,
Yeah, think if that would have.
yeah, if it had just crushed him.
Yeah, imagine if he had said, okay, I'm done with inventing. This thing flopped. I think another thing is that this is really kind of I think a lesson for inventors not knowing what your audience, what your customer really wants.
Not recognizing, or people not even knowing that there's a problem. You invent something
Yeah,
that they don't even know there's a problem.
a problem,
Yeah.
a solution in search of a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, we don't want this, we don't want the solution.
That's what I was trying to say earlier.
What a niche clientele too. It's literally one customer.
That's true. How many of those could he have sold?
Yeah,
you think?
one. I mean, really, because there's two houses.
Well,
That's it.
yeah.
The far side, the early. Like phone numbers, it's like,
Yeah.
Bob there, or no,
Right,
is this 7? No, this is 3.
right. Trippy.
Oh, yeah, but talk about not, what if he'd gone in advance and asked, okay, what would you all think if? But I mean, they really didn't like this thing.
Or how about this? Let's take it one step further. What if he was so successful in his first thing and gave up and stopped and became
Yeah.
I don't know,
I hadn't thought
We
about
live in
start
that.
taking care of horses instead of
Right.
We would literally be living in an alternate history.
we would
Yeah.
have this donut life.
Yeah.
See, what if you just quit being inventors? We can't quit being inventors.
So how many
That's true.
things did Edison actually invent? Because I heard a hot take that he kind of ended up more buying patents and really more of a marketer.
He was a better businessman than.
No, wasn't.
Yeah, and he's a showman, a big showman.
Wasn't he? I mean, golly, give him no credit at all. Take it all away. The greatest inventor of
I like it. A lot of people kind of throw shade at Edison. They say, no, Tesla really had it.
oh, that's for sure. That Tesla
Yeah.
should be recognized for what he did, but
Yeah.
now let's not just kill the guy.
I didn't say that. I was just trying to get some input.
He did invent a better light. He did invent a better light bulb, for crying out loud. I mean,
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Don's gonna take it away from him. Don, maybe I'm just that guy that doesn't know. Tell me.
No,
Don.
okay. Have you ever visited Thomas Edison's summer home in Punta Gorda, Florida? I've been there. It's a beautiful place. If you've not been there, you should visit. It's just south of Tampa. He had these rooms, so he had turned it into a kind of a factory floor.
Okay.
So he would have these inventors that he would hire, and they would all come into this big place. And he'd say, okay, everybody work on this problem. And they would all work on either one problem or maybe a number of problems. So he wasn't really coming up with solutions anymore. He was hiring people to figure this out and fix this. Now, does that make him not an inventor?
I don't know.
I think it makes him. Who else would have done that? I mean,
Yeah. Right.
I think he was a big showman. I mean, we would have, this is why I think, by the way, here's my pet theory on why I think there are so many crime shows on TV. I blame Thomas Edison. The
Wow.
very first movie that was ever made was Thomas Edison made it. And in order to capture everyone's, I guess, interest in it, it was the Great Crane Robbery. That was the very first video that was ever made.
So you think it's just been
And it was
Domino
it
effect,
set the stage for. That's why I think there's so many crime shows. It's like, oh yeah, let's just keep doing this.
dun dun.
Right.
Or that was already what everybody was interested in.
Now
and
that
that's why
could
he
be,
made the
yeah,
business of that.
yeah. Before that, let's all show up.
Towards him. I think I don't know. I'm not much for the conspiracy thing. I think Reed was all over this.
I mean,
Maybe he just was reading what the public wanted and made a movie about it.
That could be. That could be.
Let's not.
you want to give the audience what they want.
Everybody showing up for the gunfight, that sort of thing.
But back
The old
to
Western
him being
gunfight?
an inventor, just because, ideas don't really belong to anybody. All right. So if he's guiding these young minds to success, to bid more stuff, I hate to break it to you. That's how it's done. You get the credit. If you
I
You
like
know,
the fact that
if
he
you
did
wanna,
that.
if you want to go as far as to say is, I think wasn't JP Morgan backing him?
Yeah.
No, there's the money. He gets something. He didn't get. Guess what? He didn't get any of the credit.
Yeah,
Edison gets it.
Yeah.
But I don't think J.P. Morgan needed the credit.
I was
he didn't
gonna
want the
say,
credit. He didn't
mine.
care.
Credit. So if you're guiding young minds to make inventions and telling them like that's because we all know that well, at least I know since I have like 7 patents, but is that part of them, I was by myself. I was bouncing off my father, who has 2 PhDs from MIT. I was using things to my access, but it's my invention. You know what I'm saying? And I took it to people that helped me guide these things, hone it in, listen to somebody else say something different about it. Next thing you know, you change something, you move it around and you make it better until you actually come to a point you're like, I think it's done.
Yeah.
I think it's done. And it can't get any better. It can't. I mean, that's what happened with farm hoagie. Is like my first time I took it to my father. It's a funny story. I had it hot glued the bungee cord that allows the bottle to flex back and forth. And he pulled it apart and it went snap. And he was like, "Well, that's a bunch of crap."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I have to go back to the drawing board, figure out how to put that." And I took a little hot thing and burned a hole in the side and burned a hole in the side. And I tied a knot with a bungee cord. You can pull it just about as hard. I mean, obviously manhandle it could snap or it's going to break the bottle.
Sure.
But I mean, just like
Wow.
running through different versions, until you go, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
No inventor exists in a vacuum. It's
And
all
you may never be done actually
Mhm.
on some things. That's why this,
Well, go ahead.
So that's a big idea in software, and people are pushing towards these agile frameworks where you're in continuous innovation. And any idea we have, there's so many people building apps and software that there's no chance that you're the only person pursuing this idea. So who wins? Is it the person that makes sure it's perfect before it comes out? No, because will it ever be perfect? It's the first person to market. So
that's right.
get it to
Yes.
market quickly.
Yep.
You figure out what your minimum viable product is, get that out there. Does it have all the features? No, but it's out there, people are using it.
Yeah.
And then you put the next iteration out.
Yeah.
Because if you wait for it to be too good, then somebody's going to beat you there.
Exactly. Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, and I've seen this a lot with inventors is it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. And sometimes I really do think there's a psychological aspect to that
Sure.
where it's like, you're just afraid to get to that next step of, now I got to knock on doors and talk to people. It's a lot easier to stay here in my comfort zone where it's like, I'm going to make one more button on this remote. And that's why you wind up with 100 buttons on the remote when you need just probably 3.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some inventions that need that, right? Like the Dreamliner.
Yeah.
Probably need to make sure it works really well before you release it.
yeah.
It's not something to fix later.
That wasn't my problem. My problem was actually the opposite. And I'm a bit bitter about it, but it's I guide it well. Is that see, I was able, since I am on the farm, I was actually able to just use and practice multiple things beforehand and tweak it and do it on my. I was lucky to have that springboard with my father, you know what I'm saying? And
It's a big laboratory.
and I was able, it's a big laboratory and do it at peace. And then I'm still honing it in. I'm still creating the system that I hope that will enact change. But I've got it in my mind and I was lucky. And now it's just kind of like, I guess about a year and a half ago or maybe 2 years ago, Don, when we met, it was just kind of like, I'm like, I think now the farming's getting in the way. I mean, that's my problem now is can I stop paying bills? Can I just, I know I got good stuff. It's just like the farming's getting in the way. So now I'm like, I'm almost like seeking, I'm seeing it through and kind of, I use the word hell or high water, but I'm looking to just like find homes now, licensing, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. The travesty of it all would be to just possibly never see the light of day.
Wow. Well, I think I think you can see the light of day. We can help you with that too.
Yeah. I'm waiting.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right. Leo, what's next?
Next up, want everybody's opinion about it because I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have seen it. So please put in the chat,
Oh,
Yay or nay on Apple's new VR. So yeah, let us know what you guys think in relation to that. I know what one of you thinks because we talked about it, but still,
I think the $3,500 price tag,
yeah, that's the big
Is-
gripe.
I mean, sure, there's plenty of early adopters that can afford that and they're
Yeah.
gonna go for it. It's neat.
It's about 9 times like what the competition's charging. So, you know, your average VR headset's like $400.
Yeah,
$3,499.
Haven't we learned from previous though, that they go places that nobody else has gone
Yeah.
before?
Oh, this is actually my take. I'm not an Apple guy,
Who-
but to me, I'm getting nostalgia from back when I first announced the iPhone.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Oh, I mean, just remember how revolutionary the concept was. Oh, I can have my real, not X HTML coded internet,
Mm,
but real internet on your phone. I just remember getting on my iPhone and being like, what is
yeah,
this?
here's a computer.
Here's a
in your pocket
computer.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's more powerful than the Apollo 11.
and we're all walking around with one in our pocket and you never have to wonder anymore. Just ask Siri.
Isn't a musical greeting card more powerful than the Apollo 11?
Come on now. At least
So,
Apollo 11 had a heat shield.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. Can't help
so
myself.
at my office at work, I've got 2 monitors, my laptop's monitor, and then I use my iPad as a 4th monitor. A lot of monitors.
Yeah.
And what they showed the VR doing, and I haven't worn an Oculus or anything.
Okay.
I haven't tried any of them. They all seem very gaming focused.
Yes.
Apple, of course, is going the opposite direction. But wearing it and being able to have all these screens wherever you want them seems really neat.
Yeah.
Just the technology in there, you've got 2 eyes and you've got a postage stamp size.
And this is also the only one that works with prescriptions too.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Prescription
you've got-
cover.
Which that's another, I don't know how much those are, but you actually get Zeiss lenses for your
Right.
prescription in each one. But the actual screen your eyes are taking is the size of a postage stamp. And it's got 16 pixels in the space of every single pixel on your iPhone. So it's got more pixels in these 2 postage stamps than a 60-inch 4K TV, I think is what they said.
Yeah, it's been
So how they crammed all that into this little
one
small
little
thing
OLED screen is nuts. Yeah.
is amazing. As a cinephile, like I love,
We need to talk about that.
and I'm not anymore, because I don't,
Time management.
well, that, and I did just, that's at some point, quit making good movies.
That did happen.
Well,
That's
yeah,
also another conversation.
yeah,
Um,
right.
But I would be interested to see what it's like to watch this on the headset. I thought it was really neat how they have like this button where you can either dial in or out like the background.
Yeah.
And it's cool that if I'm sitting there doing something and somebody comes up, your screen goes away. So an
Yeah.
actual human can take your focus. But still, you've got this barrier in between. And the less, I got that watch not too long ago, and I wanted it to be less connected to all my other screens. So like, I don't miss something important, but I just,
Oh, no, that's a good point.
and I don't usually scroll or answer things or read things on it. I'll see something and sometimes I'll,
So do you think that the background, the fact that you can see background is going to be really
I
different?
think it's the most important thing about it.
Really?
This is my great but terrible prediction on this. It's like with social media. It's like, wow, this will bring people together. It'll also make people horrible. It's I think that this has more potential than any other VR headset for augmented reality.
Mhm.
Where, you know, right now the battery life's terrible, but it could get to a point where you're never lost. You're never lost. You're walking in a park and you think, uh-oh, I don't know where I am. And then you just tell it what to do and it shows you the way out of the park. You could be
Huh.
You could be looking at CAD files and you could literally be looking into it and twisting it with your hand.
So you could
And-
find your way out of an IKEA.
You could find yeah,
Fighter pilots have already been wearing
exactly.
these HUDs on their helmets for a
That's
while.
true.
And that's exactly what it'd be.
I wonder if
It'd just
they
be
borrowed that
integrating-
technology from.
Yeah.
How long until we're wearing those while we're
Well,
driving?
see, this is the
Ah,
bad
yeah.
thing. though. The bad thing is it also means we can alter reality in less than savory ways. Like, okay, this is just hypothetical. Let's say you're an Air Force recruiter and you're recruiting some young kid and they're like, I don't know about doing drone stuff on people. You can be like, no worries. You put this little headset on. Look, it's paintball. Like you could have people do things and you could take away the gritty reality of it
Oh,
by superimposing a false reality.
here we go. Inception.
Yeah.
Dream within a dream.
Yeah.
So that we know.
Well,
Well, okay, at the risk of sounding like the old guy in the room. The last time I did a VR headset, they were demonstrating this new cool technology and Don, we've got to show this to you. And let's strap this thing on your head and you're going to look, it's going to feel like you're in a factory floor. And it was really cool technology. You felt like you were on a factory floor and, you know, it was like training factory workers
Some
and all of that.
escapism they were selling, but yeah.
Yeah. So you're like on the factory floor and you're doing stuff. So it's like kind of a way to train people how to do something without them actually being there. Well, that was all great. I was actually really impressed with it until about, I don't know, 2 minutes in, and I felt like I was on a bad amusement park ride.
Yes, it's a very common
Did-
thing.
did you get
Motion
sick?
sickness.
I had to like take the thing off and act like I wasn't sick. Well, that's really nice, guys. You know, here,
Yeah,
you know,
give me a minute.
yeah, well, let me go over here and try not to vomit on your demonstration.
It's a real
So,
common issue.
Sure.
but
thing I'm most fascinated about by it as a developer, I mean, we've been developing things for flat screens, and you've got height and width, you can position things. There's Z index where you can layer it, but it's still always the same distance away from you. And you know, with this headset on, you've got 2 screens for each eye, so there's true depth in things. So
well,
the way you can place things in your environment.
I wonder if that'll take away the seasickness.
Well, because that's going to happen anytime there's a discrepancy between what your eyes are seeing and what your ears are feeling.
Exactly.
I had trouble with the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Talk about cinema.
Yes, because it's moving around, but you're not.
Yeah,
moving.
yeah.
So I think if you're wearing it and you're riding a roller coaster simulation,
Mhm.
you're going to get that. But if you're just sitting still and you've got a screen that's way back here, you know, on your back wall, but then you've got this floating screen that's closer to you. And I'm curious how that affects eye strain. Like, are our eyes actually focusing at different distances because the actual screen is still right here in front of you? But
That's interesting. I wonder if there'll be unforeseen consequences
they're all
to this that none of us could possibly guess. But yeah, it's going to like mess with your brain, or will you process something, or I mean, I don't know. Again, I could just be talking like the people did when they said, "Oh, you can't have electricity in your house; it'll kill you."
well, I could share my very doomsday prophecy about where technology is taking us, but you know, it's kind of depressing.
Oh
Yeah.
well,
That's another conversation. Yeah.
it's a conversation for another podcast.
Yeah, it's more centered around AI, but it definitely involves
Yeah.
the metaverse and virtual reality as well, more than augmented. But
We gotta have you back for the Halloween live stream where it's all gonna be pessimism.
Yeah, let's do that.
if we make it that far.
If there is a
Dun,
next
dun,
time.
dun.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, well, let's see. What do we have next? Or are we, was there anything else?
Yeah, no,
about
no,
it?
that's good.
Well, what were your
All right.
thoughts? Are you excited about it?
Again, it's a double-edged sword. I'm excited about the more mainstream improvements for non-gaming, but I'm also concerned about the augmented reality maybe being used for less than savory things. Yeah,
It's a brick.
it's a brick.
It's a brick.
Yeah.
You can
You
throw
can
it through a
smash
window.
somebody's head or you can make a nice ball. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Kevin, have you ever played like Farm Town or any of those.
No,
areas.
real life.
I didn't know if you were ever on the tractor playing the game.
I'm not a
simulation-
veterinarian, but I play one on the farm often, and that's enough for me. But listen, when it comes to those video games, anything that can get the next generation to
It's bananas. by the way.
at least
It's a little off topic, but it's blown my mind how many young people I see are getting into agriculture. And it's like, what got you in agriculture? I'm like,
Oh.
Stardew Valley.
ag tech, everything, what would you say, tourism, ag tourism. I'm actually trying to dive into it. I'm gonna start turning memberships out to the farm.
I could see that,
And,
especially at your
and,
farm.
Well, anything to highlight this system that I've created. So if I can bring people out, maybe they'll have to listen to me gas bag about because what I've learned on this journey is that agendas matter. Nobody cares, and I can scream it. I'm the loudest guy in the room. I always will be. I can talk passionately about it at my store. I can do whatever I want. And unless it affects them directly or hits them straight, or they start to understand or grasp the concept I am, they don't care.
Yeah.
And that's real. So I just stopped. Well, actually, I never stopped gas bagging. But what I did what I did do was actually just, you know what? I'm going to stop and I'm going to do it myself, and I'm going to see it through, and grants, whatever. I will make it happen no matter how I can make it happen. And if, I find the person that wants to come along on the journey, fine. But my agenda is this. And I'm, like I said, hell or high water. Get out of my way. I'm going to run you over.
Speaking of getting run over, the next innovation involves a backlash against touchscreens in cars.
Yes.
It's a very divisive topic. I personally, being somebody who drives an 07 vehicle, I don't have to worry about that. All I have to worry about is the fact that I don't have CDs anymore and I have a CD player.
Nice.
But there's a big backlash, and just my 2 cents before I jump in on wanting to know everybody else's 2 cents. And please, in the chat, let us know if you prefer a touchscreen or buttons. Problem I have with touchscreens, as cool as they are, if something does go wrong with them, it's not like, oh, well, shoot, the AC doesn't work, or oh, well, shoot, the FM radio doesn't work. Instead, it's, oh, shoot, the car doesn't work. So to me, that's like the biggest complaint I have, as much as I like touchscreens for most other utilities.
If it's not on the screen, is it even real?
Yeah, there you go. Oh man, that's like a black mirror. Yeah, what's your thoughts on the matter, Rick?
So I got a 2019 Ram, and it's got an iPad size screen. It's not horizontal like on the Teslas, it's vertical. And I use it a lot. It's got a button where you can control your climate, but it also has physical buttons for the climate too. And I use the physical
that's the
buttons.
best of both worlds. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like both.
I'm with them on that. On my 2021 4500 Dodge Ram, I didn't quite get the one that goes up and down. I got the medium one. But I deliver hay. That's basically what pays the bills while I'm chasing down hemp cattle company. Is I deliver hay to people, and I have added a CarPlay, a wireless CarPlay to my where
I gotta plug mine in.
no plugging in. It's for the bird.
I know.
Yeah, and I bought an iAudi where it automatically clenches my phone, so I don't have to do any. I literally just stick it up, it opens up and closes down on my phone, and it automatically attaches to my CarPlay via Bluetooth. And I get my screen, my address, I got Siri, I got everything, and it just I feel naked.
You guys are
without
down a
it now.
spaceship.
And that iAudi is charging my phone. So I'm charging it I'm
I've
really
got
just
that down the bottom, and it'll wedge in there, but it's got the QI or whatever,
yeah.
and so it'll charge. I have to plug it in, and it seems wild to me that it has taken so many years of CarPlay existing before them to make it wireless, when everything else has been wireless.
Everything else doesn't make any sense. This whole charging thing. So I was like, how can I charge my phone, get everything I wanted with literally no action. I literally just stick it up there and I go and yeah, and I.
Charge the phone not plugged in, but it can't connect. to
It
the-
made no sense to me, so I researched out, I think it's called Air to Play. Whatever, you plug it into your CarPlay wireless. Now, the problem is you be in your house and all of a sudden you're attached to your car.
Oh, yes,
There's a-
I've had that happen to
It
me.
will do that, but as long as you're a good 30 feet away, it will just,
If
Christine,
I,
it just starts talking to you.
well, yeah. Well, they say, your stuff's playing in your truck and you can't hear somebody and you're constantly going back to.
I'll
speaker.
be listening to a podcast. I'll be, I'll like start this like in the winter if I'm starting the car and it's warming up. And all of a sudden it'll go off and I know what's happened. It's playing in the car.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
take
I
it,
do
though.
not like that at all.
I hate to break it, but I love the automatic that it does attach because I literally turn my phone, go, stick it to the thing and I'm on my way. The best thing about it is, and this goes back to, I guess this isn't really a touch screen, I guess, but I guess it's sort of technology working for you. I mean, you look over people that are on their phones on their car
Yeah.
all the time.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like 90%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I mean, you could just stare people at
Yeah.
stoplights and just be like, look over, like
I do. They don't know.
It's
They're all
scary,
wrong.
right?
around on the opposite side of the yellow line from somebody who's chance they're looking at their phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm driving and they're doing that, I'm videoing them.
That might be worse. I think you show it better, but
And when you both run into each other.
but I love the fact of the on CarPlay, read me the text. I can
Right.
reply verbally.
Right.
I don't even have to just read me text. I want to reply to that. Do you want to reply? Yes. Boom. And even though it might be, as long as I train myself to speak clearly and succinctly about what I want, and I don't mince, slur words or anything like that. Most of the time, the text turns out okay. Saying she
Mhm.
does a pretty good job, but you train yourself to actually speak short and succinctly, and to
Mhm.
get it done in a way. Don't overdo it. Don't overcook your grits with a long paragraph,
Yeah,
which is hard for me.
and serious. Getting
Imagine
better at
that,
understanding
right?
Kentuckian.
Absolutely, yeah, I've noticed that.
So that's
Not-
the
not
handiest thing is the
serious,
texting,
but,
while driving.
I love,
Aspect of it, and that's why the Apple Watch is probably handy as I'll get out too. Usually just
Yeah,
yeah, I got a lot of,
like
I
that
got
shit.
a lot of
Sorry.
new, like, I got a lot, no, that's all right. I've got a lot of new tech on my phone, or on my phone. I've got a lot of new tech on my car that I didn't have before. And I like it until it does things I don't want it to do.
Yeah, well,
That's really it. I mean,
well,
there's a button I have to hit every single time to keep it from cutting off at a red light.
and
I hate that.
In
I
farming-
absolutely hate
in
that.
farming, Don, I talked to my
You
employees
gotta
all.
jailbreak your equipment.
I
yeah.
know, well,
Right.
in farming, let me say this, it comes to farming, most of the time when people say, equipment broke, okay, it broke. And I know that probably 90% of the time it's operational error. Don, I think that's what it sounds like, it's operational error.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah. But I'll tell you, if you want my vote for buttons over touchscreens, I vote buttons.
Yeah, likewise.
that's low hanging fruit. for Don.
Oh, you get the test too, see what. it
Yeah.
does.
well, if you could
It's,
run,
It's the test.
I want
Whoever's in
hands-free
that.
control or ice-free control where I don't have to look at it. I'm like, oh
Steering
no,
wheel.
this button's over here.
Over here on your steering wheel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you notice? Now, those aren't touch screens. They're where we'd be in trouble.
you can run a backhoe from like an iPad screen. That would not be as good. But if you could do it from your couch, it'd be like that.
Oh.
That's what we need
Farmers.
a drone.
Even in Kentucky, you think we don't have like massive fields, but those tractors are driving themselves.
We've got a guy, we need to
You're
put you
not
in touch with him. He's got a remote control
Sure.
mower.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but don't, the world is more equals better. And that's not necessarily, I don't believe that to be true, but that's the way the world works. So that's the reality we live in. And if, we need to have 1,000 acres of corn and beans to survive in agriculture, that's what farmers do. Farmers are necessity driven and they're going to embrace most embrace technology if it benefits them on the bottom line.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
even though it's heavily subsidized, farmers are I think most of our goals are to feed people.
Mhm.
And we're the only country that that obviously it's heavily subsidized. What we do a lot of things wrong and a lot of things right, but you know, our food doesn't cost a fortune. It's
Yeah.
sad that other things
Yep.
do. Maybe we put our stuff in the wrong pot, you know what I'm saying? But at least, you know, maybe that's why most of us are obese, me included. We like food. It's cheap, it's good, it's delicious.
I like your steaks.
Yes, yes. Hemp-fed beef, plant-based fat. Let's do it.
Love it, love it, love it. We're gonna talk about that here in a minute.
All right, don't get me started.
Yeah. All right, what do we got next, Leo?
Next up, this is really neat stuff, and it's one of those things that when we see it actually get implemented, who knows what it's gonna ultimately lead to, but there's a bacteria, mycobacterium, which does not make it a fungus. It is a bacterium, despite the name myco in it, which means fungus, but whatever. It's got an enzyme that can produce electricity out of thin air.
Huh.
So, yeah, I mean, news headlines tend to be hyperbolic, but in this case, magical time and the sky is the limit, that might actually be applicable. And this is like really new. This is like a week ago. that
Yeah,
This was discovered.
It's shocking.
Yeah,
wind and solar power are leading. No, that's not it.
that's gonna be the next thing is people are gonna say, oh, you use solar, do you use geothermal? And say, we use bacteria.
We use bacteria.
Yeah.
The heat, is that where it's getting its energy? Is the heat? Is it an exothermic
See.
reaction?
We'll go over it. Yeah, it's.
Let's see, a little further down, they're talking about,
Really does.
went too far.
So what happens if it gets super concentrated? Like, I mean, could that create an electrical field that could discharge? I mean, could,
That's conceivable. Yeah.
can they produce
Bacteria
electricity? Are they little
large
mini
quantities.
capacitors too? Are they storing it? Are
That's a good question. I actually don't know if they're capable of
Let's
storing
see.
the energy.
Enzyme can be grown in large quantities.
they AC or DC?
Wait, it's astonishing they will pump it freeze it up. And I don't understand where is it creating the energy? So it has to. Is it through heat?
Let's see.
Bacteria can trace hydrogen in the air as a source of energy
That's the.
and to help them grow and survive.
So the enzyme interacts with hydrogen. Atmospheric hydrogen.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
these microbes they have in the heat vents in the bottom of the ocean. I've seen
Yeah.
those before.
That's what they were even saying that
Okay.
Antarctic soils, volcanic craters, and the deep ocean. That is wild.
The world is saved.
Yeah, well, even more shocking, most enzymes are very temperature specific, but this can be frozen. And that alone is really, really good news.
There you go.
What percentage is hydrogen in our atmosphere? 10?
No, I think it's higher than
like
that.
8?
Really?
Isn't it?
No, that's nitrogen. It's mostly nitrogen. Let's just look it up. Let's see. Here. And also, if anybody can answer it in the chat, that would be great.
Yes.
I'll bet you there's someone who knows the answer to that, like off the top of their head. But yeah, you know, and they were saying they were doing it or could do it in small quantities. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, you know, charge your phone, that's cool, that's all well and good. But I think what the next big leap, if they have a big leap from this, will be if they can mass produce
Yeah.
this. They can mass produce energy using this principle. That could be the big game changer. It reminds me a lot of graphene, and which is kind of a pet favorite subject of mine.
Listen,
What was that? Graphene?
Graphene, have you heard of graphene?
No.
Okay, so it is carbon, one molecule thick.
Yeah.
You can actually make it by taking pencil lead
I know what you're saying.
and tape.
Okay.
And like pulling it off, and you've got this graphene. It's like this wonder material. So you could
Graphite.
no graphene. So it's like graphite, one molecule thick.
Okay.
One molecule thick, really, really thin, but it has all these amazing properties. They like the molecules line up a certain way, and it can like do stuff with amazing battery charging, amazing strength. You could have the strength 10 times more than steel and be flexible.
That's carbon fiber, right?
You've got graphene. Yeah, graphene's kind of it's a carbon fiber material. And the thing that's always, you know, and they've always, I mean, you just look it up. I mean, if you Google graphene, you'll hear all of these amazing, wonderful things. They already know it can do. Here's the problem. It cannot be mass produced yet.
Right.
Nobody's figured that out. And whoever figures out how to do that, it reminds me a lot of Carnegie before there was steel. Before Carnegie actually hired the guy, this is another kind of Edison thing. Before Carnegie hired the guy Bessemer, who had invented the Bessemer process to make steel, really all they were making were like silverware out of stainless steel. That was all they could do, just small quantities of stuff. And when he did that, it was the game changer. That's where we got skyscrapers. That's where we got bridges. That's where we got, it changed everything. But it wasn't until they could mass produce it. They knew how to make it, but nobody knew how to mass
That's
produce
just
it.
that's just throwing oxygen into iron ore, right? Trapping it, right?
I have no idea.
It's
That's
actually,
what it is. That's what Bessemer process is. You heat it up, and you know, you super cool it and you trap the O2 inside of it, and it becomes steel.
well, it's also displacing other impurities.
Sure, yeah.
So that's, yeah.
But it makes it stronger that's what, I'm pretty sure that's what Bessemer did. And then Carnegie got a hold of it.
Fair and square in this case.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Crushed it, yeah.
Carnegie was about to lose his shirt. I mean, he was like, okay, I have to build this stuff,
yeah.
and all this bad stuff was happening. And it's like, I've got to have a game changer. And he said, I need to build this big bridge, and I can't build it out of wood.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
That's where that came from.
And then he built it out of steel, and then they say, you know, he put an elephant over top of it. And then
That was where, okay, now this is where
That's it.
to me, Carnegie was a lot like Edison, because they were showmen.
yeah,
So he was like,
gives me hope.
yeah. He's like, it was commonly thought back then that if an elephant will walk across the bridge,
good.
it's safe.
Yeah.
And everybody thought back then, oh, bridges aren't safe, because a lot of them weren't. And he like did this big parade, this big show, and he paraded this elephant across, and everybody followed, and everything was
That's
fine
right.
after that.
Tricky.
Yeah.
Well,
We're also seeing a big shift in customer choices. People are starting to favor more American-made products. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, let us know in the chat what you guys think of that, because that's, to me, it's a really nice shift to see, at least domestically. You know, Celeste, this is not applicable to you, nor is it applicable to John. But in fact, I'd like to know, please put in the chat, if you're seeing more, for lack of a better word, even though it's kind of a more negative term for it, more jingoistic customer decisions, because we're seeing it on this side of the pond.
More things made in your own country.
Yeah.
In other words.
Yeah.
Do you prefer that?
Interesting.
And to you guys overseas, like in America, we kind of have this idea, American made, it's got to be better. What does American made have that connotation to you?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Yeah.
That is.
In fact, John and Celeste, feel free to unmute for that, because we'd love your opinion on that. And we won't be offended if it turns out like everywhere it's, oh, American, that's worse than me.
Right. We'll take it.
Go for it, John.
Yeah, I mean, made in Ireland, going by that, there isn't many products that would be made in Ireland. I mean, like that, you got the Chinese imports, but made in America, to be honest, I'd like to see America making more of their stuff, you know. I remember years ago, there were certain building tools that my father brought over, and you couldn't get them here, and they were made in America, especially that sheetrock cutter with the rule on it. Remember that?
Yeah.
Was, like, that was so cool when I got that. I was in construction at the time, and it was just like, wow, this is a fantastic invention, you know. And it was really made really well as well, you know. It's I still have it upstairs.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I said we wouldn't mind either way, but I'm really glad to hear that it is a positive.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of it. Yeah.
Good deal, thank you. But yeah, we're seeing more of a shift in that direction. Oh, and Larry also. Interesting link. Let's have a look. I think it's graphene related.
Is that because of heightened nationalism, or is that because of?
I think it's a combination of I think heightened nationalism has a role in it, but I think much bigger than that is just the fact that we are seeing some geopolitical stuff heat up. There is more competition with China right now. There's more competition with Russia right now. And I think that even though it's not like a Cold War or anything, I think that it is making America have a little bit more of an isolationist view of our sustainability economically.
Well,
That's my take.
even pre-COVID, like, I don't know if it's nationalistic to want to support the economy of like where you live. If you know you're providing jobs by buying this, even if it
Right.
costs more, because those wages are more than they would be if they were outsourced. I guess you could argue that's nationalistic, but I don't think it,
Right.
to me, it's not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, it begs the question, if that's the case, then I guess going to local farmers market is like
Yeah.
hyper.
You think,
Yeah,
you think that's because more people are realizing that their money is their vote?
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a factor.
Yeah.
And you
Your
know,
money's more your vote than your vote.
vote with your pocketbook.
yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and I heard a really, really good argument on this from a guy that's in manufacturing. Actually, I'm hoping we're having him as a speaker. He was on a podcast, the product startup podcast, Kevin Mako.
Oh, yeah.
This guy was making a really, really good case for having things made in the US rather than overseas, not just from a national standpoint, but just from an economic and quality standpoint. He said the quality, he said it used to be, if you wanted it done cheap, you wanted it done really well, you went to China. He said that's starting to shift and that's starting to change some. And I'm starting to hear that a lot. Yeah, there's a guy up in that we know really well. I'm blanking out on his name. He invented the great plate.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I am too, right?
We'll all be forgotten.
He's up in Wisconsin. That's all I know.
I
But
thought you would remember me forever.
apologies to the great plate guy. 'Cause we know you, we love you. Yeah, I know, right? That's killing me. I'm glad I'm not the only person blanking out on his name. So.
Just brag out. You can't remember everybody's name.
No, but I'm supposed to.
Rick Kello.
Rick Kello, yes, Rick Kello, big apologies. Anyway, Rick, I mean, he's a big proponent for having it made here. He said, listen, he said, I started this, and he's like sold tons of these things on QVC. He sold them in all these different outlets. It's a great product, the great plate. You can hold your food during the picnic, and it's got a place for your cup. Your cup goes right there. So you're walking around, you're not having your hands full. So he sold, I'm sure, millions of them. And he said, we found us a factory. He said, was all talking to people. He says, I found somebody to make these in Wisconsin. And we don't just make them in the US, we make them in the state I live in. And that was a pretty amazing story. And he says, we make it cheaper. And he's breaking down all the little pieces of it. He says, we can do it cheaper here than the freight and the shipping and the headaches and everything else than we were in China. And I think I'm starting to see that turn a little bit. And I think this article could be indicative of that. I'm hoping it is. I mean, we can make good stuff if we really, really want to here. And we could probably make it cheaper because we could be smarter about it. And
Well, I mean, one, just the supply chain, we can see how important it is to be able to produce certain things here. But before that, I heard a story, and I wish I'd looked into it more.
just
So I could give you some more things to point to the sources, but China they're already, getting a lot of cotton from the South that was going over there to get made into textiles. But I heard they were starting to outsource production of the textiles here
Interesting.
because how expensive the freight was.
wow.
So if the freight was that expensive, and then the expectations for the labor in China has risen to the point to where it's no longer cheaper to do it there. They're doing the same thing to us that we did to them. And then
Interesting.
obviously that means like their economy is, I mean, they're not a developing country anymore. And are we gonna stay kind of at the top of that economic ladder? Because they don't want us there.
Sure.
But
Wasn't this kind of a thing in the 80s with Japan, though?
Yeah. Yeah, they ended up having a terrible recession that they never fully recovered from. It was like, I don't know, 81, give or take. And it's funny, like they're very sustainable, they're very capable of surviving without a lot of importation of anything. But just economically, like when you look at like the value of the yen internationally, it's just, it's, yeah. So yeah, it could happen to China too, but I'm not. So, yeah,
I mean, Japan, they're just a lot smaller
yeah,
and
that's
it's
very.
very populated and there's still plenty of farming in there, but if they keep on growing and they're not importing any food, how long can they do that?
Right, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a fair point.
China, they've got plenty of land.
Yeah.
We've got enough land.
You're
Russia's
looking
got
at
enough
2
land.
billion people in an enormous country that's roughly the size of ours with a whole bunch of different ecosystems. And then you're looking at a little archipelago with like 1 million people densely packed. So yeah, it would be apples and oranges economically. It's a fair.
Kevin, can we farm smarter than China, you think?
They're
I
making
like-
the Gobi Desert bigger, I'll tell you that.
I think we can. Listen, don't get me started. I think education is gonna set us free, but I don't know if we're on the right track, but education's the key. So I think at least with my children is that education's twofold. What they learn in school, what they learn on the internet. I mean, I can't tell you how much stuff I've learned on TikTok for crying out loud that I never would have known.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, and you feel like an idiot when you watch this stuff. You're like, oh, I'm not using my paper towel holder correctly. Or some guy's telling you can use WD-40 to clean your window screens or
Right.
something. I mean, it's
Last time I needed to fix something, I went to YouTube,
Yeah.
figured out,
YouTube.
saw how to do it, and then and did it. I thought I just followed the steps.
WD-40 and a roll of duct tape, that's all you need.
the meaning when it comes to education is I'm always looking for it. I'm starved for it. I love it. I seek it out.
Well,
Yeah.
funny enough, it's the perfect transition, so because now it's time you can actually educate everybody on yourself.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, go for it.
No, well, this is our time when we're going to have our featured inventor, which happens to be Kevin Poole with Hemp Cattle Company. So Kevin, tell us how you came up with the idea for him, or explain what it is first, I guess, is
Well,
probably a good thing.
I'll say this. So the idea came from actually, I walked backwards into it. Clark County was the hemp capital of Kentucky. All my friends, all my neighbors, tobacco farmers, were growing hemp. They were growing cannabis sativa, and they were doing it for the CBD demand that was expected to be the new cash crop to replace tobacco finally, that all farmers never had. I was the only guy in Clark County not growing hemp because you have to have labor, you have to have that. You have the ability to harvest it, and I had none of those. I was a cattle guy. I was a grass-fed, all-natural producer for Whole Foods, and I was the only guy not growing hemp in Clark County. But what happened is Atalo and Gincana filed bankruptcy and left in the maybe third or fourth year. They left a bunch of my friends and farmers with a bunch of cannabis sativa in their barns that mice were eating. No market to sell it, no whatever. And just sitting on my iPhone, once again, a computer in my hand, in bed, I started researching out hemp and the protein levels. See, I was a grass-fed. I'm all about every farmer for the last, forever has been trying to put weight onto animals via a plant-based diet.
Yeah.
Now, plant-based, I'm throwing that around as a marketing tool, but that's really what they're doing. What they're trying to do with grass, they're trying to do it. And it hasn't been able to done. Grass-fed beef is very lean. It may be tastier, but you run into an animal that doesn't have superior genetics, and eating a steak can be like eating shoe leather.
Sure.
So all it takes is one bad experience with one customer, and they're never going to try grass-fed beef again because the price that it took to make that animal was so high. So, okay, so back to it. I got a bunch of my friends having hemp in their barns, nothing to do with it. I call them up, hey, I'll buy it for pennies on the dollar. And I want to feed it on the DL to my animals, cannabis sativa. No, Kevin, you can't do that. You cannot feed it. It's a government controlled substance. You can't do that. And I was like, all right, that sucks. They're not going to sell it to me. They can't sell it to me because they're going to get arrested. I can't feed it because I'm going to get arrested. What I do? So I just sat there and after I had that conversation, I was like, there's got to be a way. I was obsessed with the marketing power of hemp. It was a catchphrase. And so in an accidental walk backwards I discovered while I was looking on the internet, actually, this is a good story because I actually was going to do it. I was going to do something, quote unquote, what you call nefarious. Okay. I think that's the best stamp of it. I was looking for hemp seed. I think you can get anything on the internet and delivered to your door. If you search hard enough and find a way, it's been my experience, you can find anything on the internet. So I was like, I'm going to find hemp seed and I'm going to grow it into my sorghum Sudan. Okay. And which I was already a master at growing sorghum Sudan. I was blending sorghum Sudan into all my hays because the Sudan grass is the only grass that cattle, horses, or anything will eat faster than alfalfa. So orchard grass, I think, becomes like straw once it gets to a certain point. So I became obsessed with sorghum Sudan. And I was like, I'm going to blend it into my sorghum Sudan on a minute level, and people are never going to know because the Sudan grows over top of your head, and there'll be hemp underneath it. And I'm just going to do that on the DL, and I'll hone my skills of being hemp fed before it's legal to do it. So when they do in 2018, they do pull it, or when they do pull out and pass the laws, I'll be like, ha ha ha, I'm ready. That was my thinking. So that's how it came about. And so what happened is while I was looking to do something nefarious, I walked backwards into an alternative hemp. And it's called sun hemp, SUNN hemp. And it's not even in the same family
Related to
as it's a legume. It's like alfalfa. And so I was like, and then I read on a website, it blends well with sorghum Sudan. And I'm just like, this is meant for me. And I just kept falling further down the rabbit hole. It's a legume, so it's nitrogen fixing. It's an annual, which I'm already familiar with because I've already mastered the art of sowing sorghum Sudan into existing cool season grasses that are growing in Kentucky. And so all I did was take my same protocols with sorghum Sudan that I had honed for 10 years. And I just took it out and then I implanted hemp. Now, no cannabinoids, nothing like that, but that's not what I was after.
Right.
I was after putting plant-based marbling.
So you never had to do anything really nefarious
Right.
after.
So I walked into this. So yes, exactly. Nothing nefarious, even though it sounds like my company is nefarious. It's not.
I didn't know if the cannibal would be kind of like the Wagyu where they feed them beer and give them massages.
Well, I'm not quite getting the marbling that Wagyu gets, but I'm getting there. I'm high choice, almost prime. So some people would say that Wagyu's overkill. Or,
I've never had an A5.
Yeah.
I mean, I see the marbling. I would like to. I'm not a millionaire.
Sure.
So I'm able,
Right.
yeah. Well, I'm able to put up for the first time. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not the first ever. But corn is technically a grass until it was turned into a grain. But so when we feed corn, when it makes a grain, when it makes that ear, that's the grain. When it makes a seed, that's the grain. Soybeans, that the bean is the green. Grain. If you graze it before it goes, that technically is a grass. Okay, so it's modified over time. And so what started happening was I was able to blend this hemp into existing grasses, boosting my protein levels up into 20% protein because it's 26% protein. So I'm able now to graze my animals into making marbling into fat. And that's like Star Trek. I'm going where no man's ever gone before.
That's like a total inventor innovation in farming.
I just walked backwards.
Basic farming.
It was a complete accident. Actually, I mean, I guess it has to do with my attitude going back to inventors, Edison.
Right.
And I kept pushing further. And so I was like, I knew. And once I started feeding it to my animals, that's when I knew I had something. That's when, because it's a natural diuretic. So in other words, the animals are cleaning themselves. It's like they're, if I had to give you an analogy, is alfalfa is like spinach. Okay. Fantastic. this hemp is like kale. It takes the animals a little bit of adjustment on the taste wise, but the benefits are just like more than spinach. Okay. Plus alfalfa, corn, and soybeans have been genetically modified, and this has been untouched. As a matter of fact, it was originally thought to be poisonous to animals.
I'm suddenly getting this vision of cows and Popeye.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so in other words, and I was able to fatten these animals up on a plant-based diet that never goes to seed because the seed is thought to be poisonous, but the plant itself. So I've walked backwards, and yeah, you can grow this sun hemp down in the south. It'll grow great down in the south, but it will go to seed in the south. So they're just harvesting it for the actual seed down there. So Kentucky once again becomes the capital of hemp production because our growing season is perfect for the hemp, the sun hemp. And so it's kind of like this, what would you call it? And it's, by the way, all legal.
Yep.
It's not
Nothing nefarious, right?
And so
Right.
I was like,
The cows are not high.
yes, yeah. We have a little fun. We push a little limit with our t-shirts and say we have because people kept saying it to me. They kept saying it to me, haha, happy cows, all that stuff. And I just being me, I leaned into it a little bit and I started coming up with the stakes have never been higher.
I mean,
I
I only double down on grass-fed beef.
I only, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I only smoke the good stuff. I mean, people just kept telling me, I was like, you know what, that'd be great on a shirt.
With a brisket on
It was a lot of 420 somewhere, time to start grilling. I couldn't help myself. Anyway, so I just slapped them on a t-shirt, and I hope that doesn't come back and bite me, that I was like, hopefully I'm not stretching that. But as long as I don't have something, smoking a joint, I think I'm okay. And I'm not misleading the public. So if you ever want to read about what I'm doing, it's all on the website. It's all about what I'm doing. But
Oh, yeah, I can show the website.
what started happening was I found a plant-based diet that feeds animals, that puts marbling in animals. And what I did, since I was the first, I trademarked it. I knew that I was onto something, so I trademarked it. And that's what I protected myself with, is that stamp right there. Basically, hemp finished, hemp grazed, hemp fed beef, hemp steaks, hemp burger. So in other words, if you put anything that says that hemp fed on a label, you have to come through me. That's how I protected myself to further my company's name, so that I can
That is a beautiful picture.
give a marketing.
Our back.
That's our back.
That's your backyard? Oh,
That's
wow.
Those are
You
cows.
control
That
the
picture's
cannabis
taken
stand.
from
And
our-
so I control the cannabis stand by trademarking, because now, in order to put something on a label, so that's how I'm gonna bring investors in whenever, how we're gonna do this. And so
And yes, folks, that stuff tastes as good as it looks. I've had it.
Right, too, yeah. So what was the toughest obstacle?
Well, I guess my toughest obstacle is the farming. Okay, hold on. It's not that it's my passion. It's what made me do what I want to do, and I love it. But now, how do you go from being the producer to launching a beef company? It never gets done.
I've been watching Yellowstone. I've got some ideas.
Everybody does. But hold on, but that's the problem. Okay, so the two biggest obstacles that have got, the hardest part of the journey is when I launched this, and I was so excited. I thought I was 2 steps away from being in Kroger. I was in Good Foods. I was the first local beef in Critchfield meats. Because my brother works for them. I just kind of got in the side door.
Nice.
But I was left with this bitter taste that I was part of the problem again. They're marking my stuff up to 30%. Meat's becoming more elite. All they want is ribeye steaks, ribeye sirloin strips, and fillets.
Yeah.
What about the other 70% of the beef?
Yeah.
Well, what started happening, what was great about my company, don't let me get sidetracked, but the hemp, since it's a plant-based diet, I started getting marbling in all the cuts of beef.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's why my burger tastes different. That's why my chuck eye steaks, my round steaks, all the stuff that normally would be ground into a burger or roast is now a steak. So I'm able to do that. But the hardest part about it is that I needed to get my product to the masses. And here I am making the product.
Mhm.
That was the first part. Why is there always somebody different in everybody's farmer's market every year? Because you can't sit quality time left. Time is the only factor that matters in our life, and you can't sit in a store. The only people that are pushing meat in these stores are the people that are just doing like 1 or 2 animals.
Right.
You know, they're doing, and the next thing you know, they disappear because they're sitting on the side every Saturday and Sunday. They're dedicated towards selling their beef. How do you take beef to the masses? And the other part is the hardest part about it is you can't move the high end steaks until you figure out where you're going to put the burger. Half the animal, when you harvest an animal, half the animal's burger.
Right.
So you have to find a place for the burger. Otherwise, you sell all your steaks and you end up with a freezer full of burger.
Right.
Yep.
And so that's why we're part of a monopoly or an oligopoly. It's because the farmers are stuck. They're stuck. They're pigeonholed. They have choices. They have to take to stockyards and sell their animals, or if they decide to do it, they have to sit in farmers markets. Farming was getting in the way. That's my biggest obstacle. It's the actual operation of the farm. And I'm out there paying the bills by making hay and sowing hemp all the time. I sold 10,000 pounds before this last rain, but I had to get it in the ground. I had this concept that only goes forward. If I could still make a hemp, you can't be hemp cattle company without the hemp.
Right. Right.
So I have to keep making that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I had to find a way for the burger, and that comes to what I talked about I gave a sneak preview on the last one. I'm a problem solver. That's why I invented, the inventions, farm huggy, Wonka Wee machine, blah, 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 all those things that are part of my existing system that Dawn and I met. That's what that was the first thing we met for. It wasn't him cattle company.
Yeah, it was the farm
Farm
huggy.
huggy.
Yeah.
And is that I got it. I want to change how we bring beef to the public. I don't, and this might be my lasting legacy, is the fact that I'm going to put 1 pound packages of ground beef and possibly steaks into a vending machine, a freezer vending machine. I'm going to close the gap between farmers, and it's going to get copied, and there's nothing I can do, and I don't care. I don't care.
Good luck to them, right?
I'll at least get my vending machines out, and I will hopefully be able to put my children through college with this idea. But what it will do, it will set free every farmer. Now the pork farmer, now the lamb farmer, he can just go, I'll just buy a vending machine, a freezer vending machine, and put it in there, slap it into some place, and next thing you know,
You might go into the vending machine company, manufacturing company.
it solves the burger problem. Now I can keep harvesting animals. I can sell meat at whatever price because I'm getting 100% of the profits. So if I want to put a vending machine in a liquor barn or Rural King and it has beef for $5 a pound, hemp fed beef, I'm the first or whatever. You can go buy hemp fed beef in my vending machine. If it doesn't sell at 5, I go to 4. I'm still making money. If it doesn't sell at 4, I go to 3.
Yeah.
But doing this all by myself is the most frustrating part.
Yeah.
Because I'm educating, I'm building infrastructure. I'm making the vending machines. I'm converting freezer vending machines into this or whatever. I'm doing it all. Well, meanwhile, I'm juggling 4 balls on the farm. I have a herd of cattle, 240, you know what I'm saying, that I'm doing. And I got a wife that loves me and is like, holy cow, hanging on for dear life with her hands. Because, and I feel like I'm screaming it from the rooftops. And once again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It will matter, but here, that vending machine is going to make it matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is my Trojan horse.
I think that'll get people's attention.
It will get people's attention, and then they're going to have to listen to me.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, and so some yahoo is putting a vending machine.
We're gonna call it a machine, right?
Never really. See,
That's why he's in marketing.
Yeah. There you go.
see, I'm just telling you, vending machine. I love
Machine. Yeah.
it. Too bad I've already got the stickers on the first one.
And it's pretty beefy design, right?
There we go.
Well, and so I thought this way. I'm gonna put it in machines, and it's gonna bin 1 pound frozen packages of burger now, and I'm gonna put QR codes. My wife is like, it's gonna be like buying gas station sushi, Kevin. Nobody's gonna buy meat out of a vending machine. I was like, I don't know about that. The next generation is different.
It's
They,
true.
they will scan their card.
Consumers will.
They will,
get
Apple
tripped up.
Pay, they will-
Yeah.
it will-
Have you been to Vegas and seen the vending machines where
Yeah.
they have like cake,
salads,
It's not-
frozen cake?
but that's all fresh salads. This is literally, okay, so
No, this was like gourmet, expensive, celebrity chef cake.
Oh, in
My way,
Japan, they
exactly.
have markets.
Yeah, yeah.
Real
So my
people
way-
sticking
That's
things in
that's
it.
it. That's it. That's exactly it. So we are, so I'm gonna, I mean, I say this, I jokingly, I'm gonna Jeff Bezos the hell out of the meat industry. I'm gonna cut the consumer that, you know, and I'm gonna free farmers. If he wants to own, if he wants to market his own stuff, buy 10 vending machines and flood the market. You know what I'm saying? In Japan, they're doing it all the time with vending machines. Why are we not? But we have to do.
Vending machines and washlets are the two things where when I came back, I was like, we're capable.
Why not go against Butcher Box and do something like that where you're more
Okay.
global and
Thank you. That I could do that. And by the way, that's a because, and this is my answer. And I don't, this is me being the progressive, whatever you want to call me. It's that I don't want beef to be elite. You can eat better, and you don't have to. If we cut the distance,
You want to be the
if we cut
inventor
the
of the
middleman-
Model T
if we-
of,
if we cut the
beef.
middleman out, it was then everybody could afford farm fresh beef, whether it's hemp fed or pork or lamb or whatever.
Yep.
If we cut the middleman out, by the way, I have my foolproof ways that make money are is one of them is cut the middleman out, use technology to your advantage, do something that nobody else is doing, and cater to the wealthy. That's it.
That-
I'm checking.
that
three of those-
applies to a lot of folks
I'm checking-
out there.
I'm checking three of those boxes off immediately. Okay, and so
I thought the backup plan was gonna be sell the weed.
yeah. Well, so I just think that it's a way for me to bring it to the masses. It answers your question of why not do the what everybody else is doing.
Well,
Because
well, Butcher Box.
Butcher Box, think about it. How much you get Butcher
Yeah,
Box?
Butcher Box.
I had it for years.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not cheap.
It was cheaper than the grocery, I thought.
Okay,
Huh.
yeah, but it's not cheap. It's not dry ice and boxing.
Yeah.
And you.
The environmental impact of all that.
Yes, and so
Mhm.
literally putting a vending machine out there. It's literally, I can now work out. And like I said, it's the factor of this is not my idea. I can't patent vending machines. I can't do that. What I can do is enact real true change for every farmer. Now he can own his vending machines. He can show whatever he wanted. But what my challenge when it comes to the vending machine is actually making people realize that fresh does not equal thawed.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people, this we've been, it's on the counter. It's out in front of us with a
Not
little
frozen.
toothpick in front of it. I hate to break it to you. That probably came pretty close to being frozen while it was being shipped. Right?
Yeah.
So the rule about freezing things is the faster you freeze it, the smaller the ice crystals, the better quality, the closer it is to.
Correct. So fresh does
Well,
not
that's
equal
freezing.
fresh does not equal thawed. So I'm going to be sort of with these vending machines selling the concept of not only you buying hemp fed beef, which I'm using as my Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So other people won't have that advantage. Okay. But it's if people can understand that there was only one step between farm
And table.
to table.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I'd say that ad on the vending machine
It's
would be
on my-
very powerful.
True farm to table fresh is what I have.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
monitored on my vending machine.
Yep.
And it doesn't.
Exactly.
By the way, I don't know if you know this, but farmers have been eating freezer beef.
Oh,
So why would the consumer want to be like the
Because of
farmer?
marketing, yeah.
Right.
These hunters I follow, they say that the meat tastes better when it's been frozen
Yeah.
for 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So, and animals they harvest.
But it comes down to this. So yeah, I'm mystified. I'm mystified about whatever, but I'm going to see this through one way or another. It is the first vending machine that goes out there, you know, if it's in Lexington, the liquor barn and whatnot, and we track the sales.
That'd be a good.
And it comes in and whatever, if that's the case and it goes out there and it has success, I'll be doing, 10 more, but I'm looking for people, I'm doing this all on my own. I bought the
Yeah.
vending machine, I did it all on my own. Where do you go get? So do I go to Don and we go get a small business grant? Do I go take private investors and maybe possibly speed it up because then they could see a direct return?
We're gonna have a
I-
chat with you soon, speaking of.
Yeah,
Just a heads up.
I
right.
guess my idea wasn't like do what all these subscription services are doing, but a vending machine is gonna have a certain geographical reach.
Right.
How much power does it consume? What happens if it loses power? Like how much inventory is in there?
Sure, of
Um,
course. And by the way, you're right. So I would have to create a route. And
Mhm.
I bought a Schwann's truck and I went for $8,000. So that
Wow.
was big for me to do that. I
Yeah.
built a walk-in freezer, it cost me $60,000, all on my own dime. Not a single thing of grant money. And because why? Because I'm so busy farming, I don't have to write grant. And so I sit, Don meets me over at the market. I sell
Yeah,
meat on
we're-
thousands over there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I do the best I can to educate the public. I spent a year and a half.
He's trying to get here. He's someplace else at the moment too. Oops.
No worries.
Oops.
Larry.
So I've spent the year and a half educating people about what I'm doing. Now it's time to go see if my product speaks, if buying from a vending machines. By the way, QR codes will be on the front of the vending machine. That was an idea of mine that I will
Mhm.
have. In other words, I can educate, I can
Oh,
talk to
yeah.
people right there. So
Oh.
the people, and by the way, I see this happen.
Video.
I see this, a video of me talking. Yes.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Of me
So like some of the vending
Right.
machines have
And
displays.
video.
Exactly.
Right there.
Yeah.
A little more expensive, QR code is cheaper. Thank you.
Right.
They have a screen with
I
them.
have to have. I've had friends, people that see this vision with me that have gone there, but life gets in the way. The guy that was doing all my videos and stuff like that, he had to pay the bills. I couldn't pay him.
Happens.
Robbie Chapman, he was a good friend of mine. We had to part ways because he saw it. He saw the vision. He saw my visions. He helped me make videos. He was like, Kevin, I got to go pay for my kids.
Yep, yep.
Life gets in the
Yeah.
way. Farming gets in the way. That's my biggest obstacle.
Well, it sounds like you're on your way though.
Yeah,
I
It
absolutely.
know.
really does.
But I just
It
see them
really
all
does.
20, 30 minutes there.
No. But incidentally, does anybody have any questions for
Yeah.
Reese or for the guy who was yelling for the past 30 minutes? Good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Brent, go for it.
Yeah. What is the best breed that you have seen so far that produces the best marbling with this diet?
Well,
might have-
Or
Well,
hybrid?
how about this? I'll answer that question by what I do. And because I don't want to start any type of debate. But what I do is I built a herd of mama cows that were Angus Amerifax. Now there's a guy, Doug Harsh, Dusty Prairie Ranch out in Nebraska. Nebraska's been doing beef. If we're like let's just do it like we're the Flemingsburg of hairstyles compared to Louisville. When it comes to beef production here in Kentucky, we're just a little behind. We're like, in Nebraska, you wouldn't think it's forward thinking, but they're doing things out in Nebraska that they've been doing it better than we have for a while. So I flew out there, I bought Amerifax bulls and I bred them to Angus cows. I have a commercial herd. And then I started retaining heifers and I retained, so I have Angus Amerifax mama cows, and now I'm breeding them to Holden Hereford bulls and producing a hybrid vigor. I guess you could call it Angus Amerifax Hereford Black Baldies. And then I finished them on hemp. There's more to it than just what I do with the hemp. What we feed the animals is only one part of Hemp Cattle Company. How we sell it to the public, I've already beaten that dead horse to death. And the other ones is how we treat the animals. I have patents on multiple inventions, including farm hugging and a walk and wean machine and other things that I haven't patented that are all critical to my success on the farm to create an animal that is humanely raised, no exposure to GMOs, and then taken to the public at an affordable price. it doesn't get more simple. You can do a dive on my website and read about the inventions that I use every day. I do think, you know, I'm trying to return power to the farmer when it comes to my inventions. And when I say that is that, for instance, let's just walk through the Wonka wean machine. The Wonka wean machine weans calves without any human involvement. The calves walk underneath a one-way doggy door, basically weaning themselves from the cow. They don't get sick, they don't walk the fence, and they don't die. But the biggest thing about the Wonka wean machine is that it actually allows people, homesteaders that own 40, 20 acres, doesn't matter. Say they buy a house, they plop down it, they want to mow about 3 acres for a yard, and they want to do 17 acres with the other stuff. What do we do? Well, you can't put corn and beans. Nobody's going to come over there and combine corn and beans on it. You can't do anything else. You basically, you have your neighbor, you hope your neighbor comes over there and cuts hay for 17 acres. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, most of them won't even do it because it's not big enough and it's probably bumpy where you put your drainage lines and everything in. So what can you do? Well, now with the Wonka wean machine, you can drop 5 cows and a bull on there and make food, because the Wonka wean machine weans calves off without any human involvement. So all you need is a salt block on the other side of a fence, and that calf's going to wean itself off. And then all you have to do is panel up a little run and sell your animals at the stockyards. It changes the dynamic. You don't have to build a $25,000 corral to work your animals. The calves wean themselves off, and Lily likes to do is just take them off when they're done weaned, and you have grass. And I also had, you know, so I'm kind of going places that nobody's ever gone. If you come out to the farm and saw what I was doing, you either walk away, he's genius, or he's a clown. There's no in between. There's none. You're either going to be like, he is either off his rocker.
You're Willy Wonka.
I'm Willy Wonka. Either think I'm a nutbag because I'm doing things completely different than anybody's ever done, or you're going to be like, he's onto something. And here's the relegation. I keep talking about agendas. Guess what? I have come at peace now that I may not see the fruit of this journey. And that's an old story told with inventors. Don and I talked about it. Leo, we haven't, but I'm sure he knows the stories. Rarely do the people that go there ever see the fruit of their journey.
Total fruition.
Yeah, exactly. Pemberton, you can go there. Keep going. We can keep going on. It's rarely the people that actually come up with the ideas. I hope, but that's what I'm saying. When I came on this thing, I'm hoping to enact change. That's it.
You know, and the thing I see with this is the average person off the street will walk into a farm and they will look at it, even inventors, and they'll say, no, you can't do anything new or innovative here unless it's an app or something, which nothing wrong with apps. But you're showing that true.
I hope so.
That's right.
Something happened when I was I stopped drinking and my mind woke up and I haven't been able to turn it off. It's still happening. Just the other day, I'm thinking about taking it because I'm done patenting. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I can't afford anymore. And I don't even know if I want to afford anymore. I'm just all about whether I want to just actually get them out there. And so check this out. This is funny. It hit me the other day. I was wanting, mineral feeders cost almost $250 for farmers. Are you aware of this?
No,
I know those little things that sit on the ground that have a little rubber flap over top of them. You put mineral salt in them. It costs about $250 to put one out there. Okay. And my mom a long time ago started hanging barrels. You can go get a barrel for free. They'll give them away to you. Blue barrels, whatever. For free. We've been hanging barrels in our trees for years and putting dope bags on the front of them where when the cattle come in there to get their mineral salt in there, they stick their head through the dope bags and it keeps the flies off their faces. Okay. Came up with that. But to make them is kind of pain in the butt. You got to go get eyelets. You got to go get whatnot. You got to, when you have 200 pounds in a barrel, you have to put a piece of wood up underneath it. And you have to have cables and whatever. The other day I was like, I just want to do it with Kate. So I took something called gripples. There's something called gripples. And what do they do? They're allowed to put wire, they're one way, like ratcheting, in other words. And I took gripples and I took cable and I'll try to shorten this as short as I can. I shortened it down to where literally for $6, you could, when the weight of the salt now puts the pressure on the outside of the barrel is actually the most strongest part of the barrel is that ring around that top.
Right.
So try to imagine, I put a lasso around it with these gripples that go up to this thing for $6 and you can hang a barrel and I can mail these things around the country.
Wow.
And I'm selling for $50. It cost me $6. $6 to make.
I love
And
that.
it's some
I
time.
love that.
But I'm thinking about taking it over to the homeless coalition in Winchester and
Yeah.
just be like, hey, make these.
Yeah,
Let's sell
Oh, me.
them.
absolutely.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm done. I can't turn this off.
Mhm.
And people are just looking at me like I'm crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just sitting there. I know what I have to. So something will break. Something will happen where and hopefully the vending machine, whatever. I've done.
I love that idea. And when you launch that, I want us to be there. I want us to get it on film.
Well, we'll see. It'll be fun. I'm gonna grill out, launch the thing, eat some hemp-fed burgers out in front of this vending machine. I don't know. Try to close that gap between consumers and farmers. That's what I'm hoping to do. So if one thing takes off, I thought it was gonna be farm huggy, Don. I thought I was gonna be farm huggies and keeping vaccines cold for 8 hours. I thought Neogen would pick it up. I thought whatever. I was like, it's pretty freaking cool. It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
And walking weed machine is pretty freaking cool. And I just farming is getting in the way. So and by the way, I'm fully aware that every inventor thinks that his invention's the best. I get it. I get it. But you have no idea that ag tech and I'm not that smart. What I am is that agriculture's
Yeah.
There we go.
the Stone Age. And so I that's what I'm saying. These people, and I can go to the stockyards.
Hey,
Huh?
Kevin.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you checked into different markets such as the pork, dairy, aquaculture business? Is there any place for this feed stuff in those industries?
Yeah. Well,
Randy.
actually, one of the people that contacted me from Alltech, he met me in the store. He's from Cyprus. He wanted to. He was really interested in farm huggy. I gave him about 6 of them. We stayed in contact, but he uses algae. He's all about algae and as a protein source. And we just had this common bond. I think he was stunned that I knew that Nicosia was the capital of Cyprus because I'm a ball of worthless knowledge. And it kind of blew his hair back. He's like, this guy's not an idiot, you know what I'm saying? So we actually got in this long conversation. I talked to him about it, and he wants to do something with it. It's this forgotten plant-based protein that was really thought to be poisonous. If you do a deep dive on it, it's like it's still there. And there's people are becoming more aware of it. But I'm pitching it to horse people as part of my hay business. I gave at least 30 rolls of it away this year. By the way, it's not super expensive, but it is an annual, so I had to keep sewing it. So it does.
Right.
It is that trade secret of mine
Mhm.
is worth some
Professional.
value and time and
Mhm.
fuel and what to get it in
Yep.
the ground and do that. But
And they don't go to seed in Kentucky, right? So you gotta continue to buy the seed.
it's an annual, so I have to buy the seed every year. So
Right.
if there's perennials and annuals, like perennials come back, annuals don't.
Yeah.
And it's a tropical lagoon. So once again, I had become a sorghum Sudan will grow in early April. This is very sensitive to, it's not just a warm season lagoon, it is a tropical
It
lagoon.
prefers zones 8 and 9.
And so it needs to be up there. That basically when crabgrass starts growing, that's when it's going to start growing. So when you start getting crabgrass in your yard, that's when it's okay to sow seed. So after I cut my first cutting of hay, I come in there and I drill it in the ground and just and go on. But I can't. I don't know. I'm grass fed. I am hemp fed beef. I'm not hemp fed pork, hemp fed chickens. I'm not hemp fed, anything else. So there's a massive market for somebody else to step in there. All I have on my trademark is hemp cattle company and hemp fed steaks and hemp fed burger. You can't touch it, but you can put hemp fed chicken and hemp fed pork and hemp fed lamb
Yeah,
and talk to me, and we can put it vending machines together.
there's a whole, yeah.
Vending machine, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Leo's going to be in charge of all
Whole
the
marketing.
naming
Yeah.
of.
That one comes back one time. I'll try to end this with a funny story because I just can't help myself. One time when I was a marketing genius back before Hip Cattle Company, I went in to get a massage, and I kept, while I was waiting for my masseuse to be ready, there was on a sign on the desk that said deep tissue, $20 or something extra. So it makes sense. And I just sat there, just staring at the sign, because I don't get off the farm very often. And it was like, I said, deep tissue is not just the last Kleenex in the box.
Hey,
And this woman looked at me like, what a dummy.
good deal.
Machine.
Machine. I love it. I love it. I love it.
But nobody's going to ever say I'm not a character. I mean, I'm a character, but I'm a character.
Well, Kevin, we really, really appreciate your story and all that you're kind of telling us about that, and your wins, your challenges, your all of that. But let's everybody out there, let's give them a big hand for what you've done and where you've been and where you're going, especially.
Don, you've been
We're with
a
you.
good friend on this journey. Believer. Leo too.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us, Reese. This is
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
it so much.
yeah, Reese, this has been
cool.
pretty amazing. Leo, do we have any other chat questions or?
That was it. There was a
Oh, all
few
right.
questions here and there, but they were like text.
Oh,
Usually
okay.
they answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But thanks so much also everybody for joining us on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Hope you had a lot of fun. We hope you learned quite a bit, and we hope to see you next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much. And thanks for bearing with us through all the weird tech stuff, but I think we're on our way. So we appreciate your patience and staying with us, and we'll look to see you all next month. Yeah. July.
Unless you're in the workshop.
Oh, yeah,
See you
we got
next week.
workshop next week. If you're a member or want to become a member, that's of course kyinventors.org. I guess we ought to plug our place
Yeah,
as
there we
well.
go.
So all right.
Have a
Well,
great rest of the
thank
week.
you all so much. We will see you soon.